The third and final season of The Summer I Turned Pretty has officially premiered, kicking off with 2 episodes that follow Belly as she navigates a relationship with Jeremiah, even though her feelings for Conrad still linger.
Loved her.
You say I don't understand, and I say I know you don't.
Time has passed. Belly is now a student at Finch University, choosing to begin this new chapter with Jeremiah by her side. Just like in the book, her parents and Steven are there to support her, and Taylor has also enrolled at Finch. What hasn't changed is that Belly chose this school mainly to be with Jeremiah. When they arrive at the dorms, Belly finds out she'll be rooming with Jillian. While she deeply values her friendship with Taylor, she's relieved not to be living with her. It gives them both the space they need on campus. Since Susanna's death, Belly hasn't really made new friends, but Lauren tells her she's been in touch with Conrad, who seems to be dating someone new, Agnes, a character who in the books is one of Conrad's casual relationships. Laurel encourages Belly to stay open to new people and experiences, even if Jeremiah is in her life. College is a time to discover, grow, and explore. Fast forward 3 years, Belly and Jeremiah have built a strong, meaningful relationship filled with shared memories. It feels like they're meant to be. After all, they've known each other forever. But a concern arises. Jeremiah is about to graduate and move to Boston, while Belly still has 1 year left at Finch. Still, summer will always belong to them. While discussing whether Jeremiah should work at his dad's company, they get a video call from Laurel, reminding them about the memorial speech they need to prepare for Susanna's garden ceremony. Meanwhile, Conrad has grown emotionally. He's been going to therapy, working through his anxiety, his strained relationship with his dad, and his issues with Jeremiah. He's learned to let go of his need to control everything, but as he thinks about returning to Cousins and giving the speech for his mom, he can't help but first remember Belly, because even after all this time, a part of him still loves her. Belly talks with Jeremiah about the injury that ended his sports career. He admits it was hard at first, but it led him to discover his passion for sports psychology, a field he's now fully committed to. Later, Jeremiah's frat brother Redbird shows up. Belly clearly doesn't like him. She says she doesn't hate the frat entirely, but there's just something off about it. She quickly changes the subject and leaves to study with Anika and Taylor. Steven, now a Princeton graduate, is working as an intern. Though he likes the job, he admits he doesn't love it, arguing that no one should be so in love with a job they give up their whole life for it. He also avoids socializing with coworkers because his free time is sacred. He saves it for Taylor. During an intimate moment between them, Belly arrives unexpectedly to study, interrupting them. Despite seeing each other often, Steven and Taylor aren't officially a couple. Taylor is currently dating a guy named Davis. Taylor wants something drama-free and commitment-light. Steven gives her that emotional stability with no strings attached while Davis is away. In the library, Anika, Taylor, and Belly are studying when Belly receives surprising news. She's been accepted into a 1-year exchange program in Paris. She's thrilled, but also heartbroken over the thought of being away from Jeremiah for so long. She rushes to tell him but finds him upset. Jeremiah has just learned he won't graduate on time due to missed required classes. The silver lining for him is more time with Belly, unaware she was about to tell him she might leave. Belly decides not to say anything and instead tells him she walked in on Taylor nearly hooking up with her boyfriend. She recalls seeing pants that clearly belong to Steven, who is supposedly dating Mia. Still, Belly isn't surprised. It seems she's accepted Steven and Taylor's secret relationship. Jeremiah, too caught in his own disappointment, barely reacts. Seeing him like that, Belly makes a rash decision. She withdraws from the Paris exchange program. Later, Taylor finds Steven asleep in her bed. He says he couldn't leave the sorority house unnoticed due to the noise. Taylor, uneasy, tells him to go, but he insists on staying, hinting their connection is deeper than just something casual. The next morning, Steven brings Taylor breakfast and promises no one from his frat is around. It's the last Saturday of the semester, and as tradition, they plan to spend it together. Steven jokes about Taylor joining a sorority, but she explains she did it for future career connections. Steven then gets a message from Mia. Taylor tells him to leave, though it's clear he doesn't want to.
Come here.
Meanwhile, Conrad talks with Agnes, who was chosen for a prestigious internship working in palliative care, the same one he hoped for. Thinking he didn't get it, he's shocked when she tells him they both were accepted. Conrad is excited but tells her he needs time off to go to Cousins for the memorial garden. Agnes warns him that Dr. Namazi is known for firing interns on the spot if they miss anything. Conrad calls Laurel to share the news about his clinic job, which means he can't make it to the memorial. She understands but urges him to tell Jeremiah. She also says Susanna would be proud. Back at Finch, Belly and Jeremiah spend time together, but he's still discouraged about graduation. Davis makes a passive-aggressive comment that makes things worse. They join in on frat competitions to lift their spirits. During one, Conrad calls and Belly answers. The call is tense. It's clear neither of them has fully moved on. Later, Taylor introduces Belly to someone who studied in Paris. Belly admits she's unsure now about going. Taylor is frustrated, insisting Belly shouldn't give up her dream for a boy. That night, Belly and Jeremiah talk about Conrad, still assuming they'll give the speech together. Their talk is interrupted when Jeremiah's dad shows up furious. He has to pay $20,000 for the classes Jeremiah missed. He lashes out, praising Conrad and shaming Jeremiah. Jeremiah finally snaps, yelling that he's sorry he's not the perfect son. Crushed, Jeremiah tells Belly he needs to be alone and leaves her during dinner with Steven. Alone with Steven, Belly learns Jeremiah has always been impulsive and irresponsible, often making excuses, like the time he left for Cabo without telling anyone until the last minute. That fight, Steven says, was their real breaking point. He doesn't buy the whole Jeremiah is daylight image. Belly says it wasn't a breakup, just an argument. She accuses Steven of having no room to judge since he's been cheating on Mia with Taylor for 2 months. Steven admits it's wrong, but says they always find their way back to each other. Trying to change the topic, Steven asks if she told Jeremiah about Paris. She hasn't. Like Taylor, Steven urges her not to give up her dream. He reminds her that Susanna would be proud. That night, Taylor's mom confronts her about wearing Steven's hoodie, warning her not to become the other woman. Taylor insists it's casual, but the words sting. Later, Steven shows up, but Taylor ends it. She gives him a small gift as a symbolic goodbye.
Happy now?
Belly finally tells Jeremiah about Paris. He supports her and says she should go.
But Paris is your dream. And I want all of your dreams to come true.
His mature response leaves her confused. She starts to question whether she can handle being alone. Still, she chooses to move forward. At a party, she runs into Lashi, the girl who also studied in Paris. Jeremiah is visibly uncomfortable and drags Belly to dance, singing Nelly's Dilemma in an awkward, hypocritical mood.
Really, I love you. I do.
Elsewhere, Conrad and Agnes celebrate their internship. Agnes asks if he's ever truly been in love. He says yes, a perfect 10. He briefly talks about Belly and realizes he's still in love with her. Motivated, he texts Jeremiah that he won't be coming to the memorial. At the party, Belly overhears girls talking about Jeremiah. They joke about how hot he is and mention a one-night stand in Cabo. Hurt, Belly confronts him. He insists they had broken up, but Belly reminds him it was just a fight. She begs him to be honest. Belly, devastated, says she never cheated, always stayed loyal, and now he's ruined everything. She can never trust him again. She runs off in tears as Taylor Swift's You're Losing Me plays, a perfect reflection of a relationship beyond repair where love just isn't enough anymore. And that confirms what was inevitable. No matter how much the marketing tried, Jeremiah is definitely not daylight.
You're losing me.
We had sex.
Fuck you! Look, it didn't mean anything to me.
In the second episode, Belly is consumed by sadness as she reflects on her time with Jeremiah in college, especially the day he decided, last minute and without consulting her, to go to Cabo. Belly called him out for making such a selfish decision, which sparked a pointless argument where Jeremiah, feeling attacked, said maybe they should just break up if she was gonna keep judging him. 5 days passed with no word from him. While Jeremiah enjoyed his trip, Belly was left in emotional limbo, wondering why he hadn't even called. Taylor, trying to lift her spirits, suggested a girls' trip to New York, and reminded her that knowing Jeremiah the way she does, she's sure Belly is still his everything. When Jeremiah finally came back, the first thing he said was that this time, he really messed up. Belly tried to downplay it, saying it was just another fight, not the end of the world. That's when Jeremiah asked if they could stay together, and Belly replied that, in her eyes, they'd never broken up. Those words shook him. The guilt hit hard, but instead of coming clean, he gave her a bracelet. Heartbroken and disappointed, Belly threw the bracelet away. The betrayal cut deep. She avoided Taylor, knowing she was friends with Lashy, which only worsened the pain. Eventually, Taylor and Jeremiah crossed paths. He told her Belly didn't want to talk to her either, blaming her, at least in part, for everything that happened. Taylor, hurt, told him she had always had his back and now regretted defending his relationship. Jeremiah lashed out, pointing out that she'd also been unfaithful, but Taylor pushed back, saying what she had with Steven wasn't comparable to what Jeremiah and Belly had. It had been something real. His words hit her harder than she let on. She ignored a call from Steven, who had just ended things with Mia. But still reeling from all the drama, Taylor chose not to respond to his messages. Later on, Belly confided in Anika that she couldn't bring herself to go back to Cousins or attend Susanna's memorial because she couldn't face Jeremiah. The truth was, he was everywhere, in the library, in Lassie, in the hallways, on every bench they once sat on, in every hug they'd ever shared. Every corner held a memory. On impulse, Belly decided the best thing was to leave for Paris as soon as possible. She asked Laurel for her birth certificate to renew her passport. Surprised, Laurel asked how Jeremiah had taken the news, but Belly couldn't bring herself to tell her the truth. He didn't know yet. Belly had started the paperwork for her exchange program in Paris. When she talked to Anika, her friend reminded her that even if Jeremiah thought they had broken up, it didn't justify what he did. He should have been honest. That conversation triggered a painful memory. Last Christmas, Belly went to Cousins just to avoid being alone. In a moment that mirrored a scene straight from the book, she was eating chocolates while watching Home Alone, wondering how Kevin would react to the strange noises. When she opened the door, there was Conrad.
Belly.
Later, Jeremiah ran into Belly and decided to come clean. He told her he had been drunk and sad in Cabo, and Lassie had been there. They slept together, twice. Belly, devastated, begged him not to keep any more secrets. Jeremiah swore he loved her, that he would never hurt her again. But even though she wished she could forgive him, the pain was overwhelming. That night, Steven picked up Taylor for dinner. Over the meal, he told her he'd ended things with Mia. Taylor, surprised, asked if he did it for her, making it clear she had always considered what they had to be casual, but Steven disagreed. What they had wasn't casual. They always ended up back together. Then he blurted it out. He loved her. The words rattled Taylor, and she got out of the car. They argued intensely, and in the heat of the moment, Steven got into a car accident. A panicked Taylor called Belly, feeling responsible. At the hospital, the doctor told them Steven had a fractured rib and a mild brain injury. While filling out the medical forms, Taylor took charge of contacting his family and Conrad. Conrad responded immediately. He promised to do everything in his power to help. He even spoke to his supervisor, pulling strings to ensure Steven got the best possible care. Soon after, Belly saw Jeremiah arrive at the hospital. Taylor told her he was just there in case he was needed. He wasn't planning to make a move. A doctor approached them to share that, thanks to a high-level referral, Steven's care would be fully covered. But that same day, Conrad was let go from his internship. Distracted, he had made a critical mistake during a blood test, something that could have endangered a patient's life. Later, in Steven's hospital room, Taylor sat beside him and, through tears, told him she had never loved anyone the way she loved him. She remembered the day they first got together, when he promised they'd always be there for each other. The next morning brought good news. Steven was going to be okay. Later that day, Belly finally got in touch with Laurel to let her know about Steven's accident. What she didn't realize was that their parents, in their worry, were now getting involved in their lives again, neglecting other important matters in the process. Belly got a text from Conrad asking if she was with Steven, and it pulled her straight back to a memory from last Christmas. Conrad had explained his flight got delayed due to a storm, and he'd be meeting up with his dad and Jeremiah on the 28th. Because of the cold, Conrad suggested lighting the fireplace, but that reminded them both of the first time they'd been together, and they quickly backed away from the idea. The next morning, Belly came down the stairs excitedly, only to trip and fall. Conrad lay down beside her on the floor, turning the mishap into something lighthearted. He helped her up and brought her to the couch, where Belly realized that no matter what, some part of her would always love Conrad. They spent that time together respecting each other's space, but also sharing small moments, eating, playing games, watching movies. When Jeremiah called, Belly didn't tell him she was with Conrad. The next morning, he left without saying goodbye, just leaving a note saying he was glad he saw her. Back in the present, Belly thanked Conrad for helping Steven. Still, Conrad was reeling from losing his internship. In a conversation with Agnes, she told him maybe it needed to happen. Maybe he wasn't in control of his emotions the way he thought. The next day, Steven was feeling a bit better. Taylor, hopeful, told him she had a lot to say, but Steven responded by saying maybe people were right, maybe they shouldn't be together. Her face fell. Outside, Belly told Jeremiah that Steven was okay. They picked up their conversation where it had left off. Jeremiah told her that if she could forgive him, he'd do everything he could to fix what they had. He didn't want to lose all that time and love they had built. Then he proposed.
Will you marry me?
Yes.
And now the big question, after everything that's happened this season, are you Team Conrad or Team Jeremiah?